Back on the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast for the last segment of the show regarding the Cowboys, Dak Prescott, and all the comments that just seem to not stop when it comes to the Cowboys. Before I jump into what Dak said and what Jerry Jones said, I want to remind you guys one last time before this episode ends to please, if you have any questions, want to engage with me during the show, please use the tip and donations link running across the ticker below me at gsmcpodcast.net. Again, if you're not watching and only listening, the tip and donations link is gsmcpodcast.net. Doing this makes it easier for me to see your questions, makes it able for me to read them on air, and it's always a better time, I think, when you guys are commenting, reacting to what I say. It's a big help for this show and all the shows across the network, and we always thank you guys immensely when you guys are able to do that with any of your questions. Going now into the last part of the show, the last segment, the Dallas Cowboys can't stop talking, and people can't stop talking about the Cowboys, which is a fact of media, of news nowadays. Jerry Jones has really been the prominent figure in the media now that Micah Parsons has kind of quieted down a little bit. And now you have their quarterback, Dak Prescott, appearing at a charity event this past Monday. And media obviously there following him, wanting to know his thoughts on what's been going down, what his contract situation's like, and what he thinks of all the comments that have been made about the Cowboys. And one of the things they asked him about was Jerry Jones's all-in comments. That's all we've heard, Jerry Jones saying we're all in on this season. We're going to do whatever it takes to be all in on this season. It all comes down to this season, apparently, for the Cowboys. And before I give you Dak's reaction, Jerry actually walked back on his comments a little bit, kind of gave a back door to his comments and not hold so much weight. He said in a recent interview at the Combine that his words were, "Your definition of what is all in and mine might not be the same thing, but I'm trying to win games this year with my decisions," Jones said, according to Michael Gelkin of the Dallas Morning News. So he's saying what I mean by all in might not be what you think all in means. Already, it's not an excuse, but it's just a clarification that, gives them an out if it doesn't turn out the way it's supposed to. And, going back to Dak, and they asked him what he thought of those comments on Monday, he spoke to the media and said, "Yeah, I've heard that one. I'm excited to see it, honestly," Prescott said, according to Garrett Podol of CBS Sports. And furthermore, in that interview, those questions, Dak said, "I don't know. I can't say I've had talks with him about what is all in and how you plan on making those moves. So let's see. I'm excited about it." And then it all transitioned into contract talks and where he felt those negotiations were. His words were that he said he was definitely confident that a deal would get done this offseason, in contrast to what everyone else has been saying, that Dak's not going to get a deal this season. It looks like it's not going to happen with their cap restrictions and the kind of money that he's asking. But Dak feels the complete opposite. He thinks they'll be able to do it this season. And, from my point of view, seeing this, you can understand why Dak says that, why he would feel confident about it. The recent success in the regular season might be a good case to build for other quarterbacks. If other quarterbacks have this sort of season compared to if you're on the Dallas Cowboys, it looks more favorable to get that type of money. But it is unfair a little bit on Dak Prescott because he gets to play for the Dallas Cowboys, because he's always surrounded by the history of the Cowboys, the standard to live up to. It might not be fair to judge Dak on that merit just because he's part of the Cowboys, that he doesn't get the same treatment of other quarterbacks, but it is a privilege and a standard that comes with being part of the Dallas Cowboys. And People will say if you can't handle that, you might as well. You're obviously not the quarterback for this team. A lot of people have said that, and now that he's coming into a contract year, it's yet to be seen what the Cowboys will do. I'm sure whatever they do, it'll garner a lot of happy fans and a lot of very angry, disappointed fans, just depending on where you sit on Dak. But that's what he said on his contract. And moving further on that charity event, they asked Dak Prescott what he felt about the Cowboys culture. He's a player, he's in it, he lives it. Compared to Jerry Jones, Jerry could say one thing, but he's not in the locker room interacting with these guys every single day for a lot of these days. So they asked Dak on the culture, and he said, yeah, the culture is high, honestly, and the culture is great from my standpoint. My point is that something I've bragged on and took pride in. So if there's questions of that or concerns on that, I feel attacked. And that got a lot of reactions from a lot of people in the media. Some people might think, how could you feel attacked? It's reasonable to feel attacked. It's reasonable for other people to say that, if you're feeling attacked, is there reason for you to feel attacked? Is there a reason why people are criticizing you so much that you get to this point? It goes back to that standard, like I was saying, with Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. If you play for a team like this, the Cowboys, whatever they do, it gets times by 10. Anything that they do, good or bad. And with Dak not living up to the standard and him being a big part of not living up to the standard in the playoffs, they haven't won a playoff game in 25 years. It's that they haven't been to the NFC Championship. And just on that, to sit here, if you're Dak, and say that you feel attacked almost as a victim of harsh criticism, I don't know what you expected being this quarterback. And I think by now he knows that. And, he's trying to say the right thing, stick up for the guys, and say that the culture is great. But I just don't think attacked was the right thing that he should have said. I think he could have worded it differently, just simply say that he didn't agree with it. Most people would have said, and if I was in Dak's position, I would have said, everyone that's criticizing isn't in the locker room. That's probably what he should have said and what most people do say. But to say he feels attacked, I think it makes people feel a certain type of way that, they are not letting him off the hook for saying that he feels attacked. And a lot of them will justify attacking the Cowboys because they are so big, so well known, that the past results that they have gotten aren't able to withstand the mediocrity that's been surrounded with the Cowboys a lot. And you could say that's ownership, that's the players, that's the coaching. Regardless of what it is, something has to be done, and people are at that breaking point, like I've mentioned in other shows, that they might be getting a little hostile, a bit more assertive with what they say, because they need to see a reaction from this team, because they're too good to keep putting out these performances in the playoffs. And Micah Parsons has harped on it, getting new people in here to change that culture, but that kind of pushes back on it and says that it's great from his standpoint, and we're going to have to see where that goes from there. And if you're Dak and you guys really want to do something about it, how do you get people to stop asking these questions? How do you get people to stop badgering you about the culture, the performances, why things aren't going your way? The simplest thing that you can say and do is just go out there and perform on the field. Perform the way that this roster kind of makes everyone perform because of the talent that they have, and so on and so forth. They have an all-world wide receiver in CeeDee Lamb. They had a decent running back with Tony Pollard, an amazing O-line, and a defense that's great, led by Micah Parsons. DeMarcus Lawrence was there. Stephon Gilmore stepped up. Trayvon Diggs was hurt, but he's also been there around it. There are other pieces that still need to improve, don't get me wrong, but they have a lot more than a lot of teams are working with, quite honestly. Just off the top of my head, the Steelers, they made the playoffs, and nobody's really criticizing the Steelers as much as the Dallas Cowboys, in part because the Dallas Cowboys could be bigger in terms of a media standpoint and the kind of attention they gain, but also because their performances have been, the Steelers have seen a lot more recent success than the Cowboys have, and it just goes back to that drought extending over this period. A breaking point was coming inevitably, and I think we're getting closer and closer to that. With Dak being on his final year, Mike McCarthy being on his final year, we could be seeing something differently, some consequences potentially happening after this season. And just on top of that, off of the whole contract situation with Dak and just thinking out loud here, if you're Dak and like anybody with a job and trying to figure out money and things like that, can you really expect Dak to try and do something about the culture, about this team, invest a lot in this team, if there's questions about him and if he deserves the kind of money that he believes he deserves? If you have people questioning that over and over again, how does that stop Dak from thinking, this team doesn't value me? If they really valued me and wanted me to stick around for a while and really invest into this culture, they would pay me. And if they don't pay me and still have doubts about me, why would he invest all this time into trying to fix a culture that he might not be in come next season or 2 seasons down the line? Now, that seems pretty unlikely, pretty extreme to some extent, but it is a reality somewhere where Dak might not be on this team and he might feel a certain type of way if his contract isn't settled and people still question him and his play. He might just had enough of it at one point and just not invest in the Cowboys and want to just move on if people don't value him here and try to find a team elsewhere that does value him and gives him the amount of money he's rumored to be asking for. And, it all seems to be simple as for the Cowboys to just win a playoff game. They just need to win a playoff game, and it seems that all of this will go away. And that's a question I want to pose to you guys. I don't think we'll have enough time to get into it, but, I want to know what you guys think. Do you think the Cowboys just need one playoff win to get a lot of this attention off their back? In my opinion, I think it's always going to be there just because they're the Cowboys. For them to always be in the playoffs, I think is already a given. And to just win one, I think it'd be nice for a change of late with their recent playoff success. But I think just going deeper into the playoffs, building, improving year on year, that's where we'll see people kind of ease up on the criticism, ease up on attacking all the players for not performing. If they do perform and we see improvement year after year after year, going maybe further in the playoffs, 2 years go by, you make the divisional, another year goes by, you're in the championship, consecutive years, I think that's going to do a lot more rather than, simply saying they just need to win a playoff game and taste success once and then it'll go away. I think that's unrealistic because of who the Cowboys are, what they stand for, and what Jerry Jones has kind of made this sort of organization into, always being talked about, always being in the news. He's kind of built that, and now you reap some of the benefits of it, and you also see some of the downsides now more than ever with the players receiving all this criticism. Is it warranted? Is it deserved? That's up to you guys to decide, but that's where Dak stands, what he said about feeling attacked, and what my thoughts were on him saying that. It created a lot of controversy, and I'm sure we're going to get more reactions as the day goes on regarding the Cowboys. They're always in the news, and it is good to talk about it. It's good for me to talk about it on here. And it's interesting as well because a lot of people have a lot of things to say on the Cowboys, and nothing is really decided until they prove it on the field. So that's where that is, and that's where I'm going to leave this show. That's all the time I have for you guys today on today's episode. As always, I want to give a huge thank you to you guys for tuning into this episode and for everyone listening as well. Please remember to follow and subscribe to the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Make sure to also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok for more of the network's content. Not just sports, there's a lot of other stuff on the network as well. But if you do want to see more of me and this show, check out the GSMC Sports Network channel and the Podcast Network channel on YouTube for more live shows, some YouTube shorts that I put out there every day, and individual segment videos if you couldn't catch all of the live show, or if you just wanted to rewatch one segment. It's all on there for you guys to go back and watch. But as always, I've been your host, Manny Maradiegue. Make sure to tune in every weekday at 6:30 p.m. for more NFL and football conversations. Take care, guys. I will see you guys all tomorrow.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to